Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Aparna, working as scientist in MFPI Food Quality Control Laboratory, Professor Jaishankar, Telangana State Agricultural University, Hyderabad. Today, we will learn about enzymes which are used as preservation aids. Enzymes are the proteins that act as catalysts in all the living organisms, like microorganisms, plants, animals and humans. And these catalysts are nothing but the compounds that increase the rate of any kind of chemical reaction in biological systems. Very small quantities of enzymes can increase the rate of reactions up to 10 million times. Enzymes operate within a very narrow set of conditions such as optimum temperature, optimum pH or acidity, and are subjected to inhibition by various means also. Enzymes have been used unknowingly in food production systems since ages. For example, in dough making, for centuries it has been used, and it has also been used in making different kinds of food products. These enzymes can be obtained by extraction from plants or animals or by fermentation from microorganisms. The enzymes are usually purified, but many contain varying traces of other naturally occurring constituents of these three sources, that is the plants and animals, etc. They are normally added to perform a technological function in the manufacturing, processing, preparation and treatment of foods. Examples include enzymes which are used to break down the structure of the fruit so that the manufacturers can extract better quantity of juice, or to convert the starch into sugar alcohol in production of wines, vinegars, etc. Historically, enzymes are considered to be non-toxic and not of safety concern for consumers since they are naturally present in the ingredients which are used to make the food. However, the development of more efficient production methods and use of new sources such as genetically modified microorganisms are used by food industry, and now they have resulted in the usage and application of more complex enzymes for processing the food. Enzymes are classified by the type of reaction they catalyze and the substrate they act upon. It is customary to attach the suffix "ase" to the name of the principal substrate upon which the enzyme acts. For example, lactose is acted upon lactase. Proteins are acted by proteases. Lipids are acted upon by lipases. Additionally, many long used enzymes have common names such as pepine from papaya, bromelain from pineapple, etc., which are used for tenderizing the meat. Let us now go back to the history of enzymes. As I said previously, enzymes have been used in food processing and food applications since ages. Enzymes extracted from edible plants and tissues of animals, as well as those produced from the microorganisms like bacteria, yeast, fungi, have been used since centuries in the food manufacturing. In 2000 BC, the Egyptians and Sumerians developed fermentation for brewing. In 2000 BC, the Egyptians and Sumerians developed fermentation for using in brewing, bread making and cheese making. In 800 BC, cows' stomachs and the enzymes like chymosin were used for making cheese making. In 1878, the components of yeast cells which cause fermentation were identified, and the term enzyme was first used and derived from the Greek term meaning in yeast. In 1926, enzymes were first shown to be as proteins. In 1980, enzyme preparations were developed to improve the digestibility and nutrient availability of certain animal feeds. In 1988, recombinant chymosin was approved and introduced in Switzerland, marking an early approval of a product of gene technology for the food preparations and food processing. In 1990, two food processing aids obtained using gene technology, that is an enzyme for use in cheese making in the US and a yeast used in the baking in UK, were quantified and were used. Enzymes in general are globular proteins and range from just 62 amino acids and residues in size for the monomer of 4 oxalocrotomate automerase to over 2500 residues in the animal fatty acid synthetase. A small number of RNA-based biological catalysts exist, with the most common being the ribosome, and these are referred to as either RNA enzymes or ribozymes. The activities of enzymes are determined by their three-dimensional structure. However, although structure does determine the function, predicting a novel enzyme's activity just from its structure is a very difficult problem, and that has not yet been solved till date. Most of the enzymes are much larger than the substrates they act on, and only a small portion of the enzyme, that is just about 2 to 4 amino acids, are directly involved in the catalysis. The region that contains these catalytic residues binds the substrate and then carries out the reaction, and it is known as the active site. Enzymes can also contain sites that bind cofactors which are needed for catalysis. Some enzymes also have binding sites for small molecules which are often direct or indirect products or substrates of the reactions catalyzed. This binding can serve to increase or decrease the enzyme's activity, providing a means of feedback regulation. Like all proteins, enzymes are long, linear chains of amino acids that fold to produce a three-dimensional product. Each unique amino acid sequence produces a specific structure which has unique properties. Individual protein chains may sometimes group together to form a protein complex. Most enzymes can be denatured, that is, unfolded and inactivated by heating or chemical denaturants which disrupt the three-dimensional structure of the protein. Depending on the enzyme, denaturation may be reversible or irreversible. Structures of enzymes with substrates or substrate analogues during a reaction may be obtained using a time-resolved crystallography methods. Coming to the specificity of enzyme action. Enzymes are usually very specific as to which reactions they catalyze and substrates that are involved in the reactions. Complementary shape, charge, and hydrophilic or hydrophobic characteristics of enzymes and substrates are responsible for this specificity. Enzymes can also show impressive levels of stereospecificity, region selectivity, and chemoselectivity. Some of the enzymes showing the highest specificity and accuracy are involved in the copying and expression of the genome. These enzymes have proofreading mechanisms. An enzyme such as DNA polymerase catalyzes a reaction in a first step and then checks that the product is correct in the second step. This two-step process results in average error rates of less than 1 error in 100 million reactions in high-fidelity mammalian polymerases. Similar proofreading mechanisms are also found in RNA polymerase, amino acid tRNA synthetases, and ribosomes. Whereas some enzymes have broad specificity as they can act on a relatively broad range of different physiologically relevant substrates, many enzymes possesses small side activities which arose neutrally and which may be the starting point for evolutionary selection of a new function, and this phenomena is known as enzyme promiscuity. Let us now look at the lock and key model of the enzyme action. Enzymes are very specific, and it was suggested by Emil Fischer in 1894 that this was because both the enzyme and the substrate possesses specific complementary geometric shapes that fit exactly into one another. As you can see in the figure which is displayed in the slide, this is often referred to as the lock and key model. However, this model explains enzyme specificity and it fails to explain the stabilization of the transition state that enzymes achieve. In 1958, Daniel Koshland suggested a modification to the lock and key model. Since enzymes are rather flexible structures, the active site is continuously reshaped by interactions with the substrate as the substrate interacts with the enzyme. As a result, the substrate does not simply bind to a rigid active site. The amino acid side chains that make up the active site are molded into the precise positions that enable the enzyme to perform its catalytic function. In some cases, such as glycosidases, the substrate molecule also changes shape slightly as it enters into the active site. The active site continues to change until the substrate is completely bound, at which point the final shape and charge is determined. Induced fit may enhance the fidelity of molecular recognition in the presence of competition and noise via the conformational proofreading mechanism. Based on Fisher's lock and key model and Koshland's induced fit theory, the Chow's distorted key theory for peptide drugs was proposed to develop peptide drugs against HIV, AIDS and SARS. After understanding the various models of enzyme activity, let us now go ahead and try to understand the applications of enzymes in food processing as well as in food preservation. Today, enzymes are used for an increasing range of applications. For example, in bakery, cheese making, starch processing and production of fruit juices and other edible drinks. Enzymes can improve texture, appearance and nutritional value, and they may also generate desirable flavors and aromas in the food matrices. Currently used food enzymes sometimes originate in plants and animals. For example, you have the starch digesting enzyme, that is the amylase, and this amylase can be obtained from germinating the barley seeds. So these enzymes which are originating in the animals and plants, but sometimes you also have a range of beneficial microorganisms which can act as enzymes apart from the enzymes obtained from the animals and the plant tissues. In food production, enzymes have got a lot of advantages. Let us now see the advantages of the enzymes. They are welcomed as alternatives to traditional chemical-based technology and can replace the synthetic chemicals in many processes. This can allow real advances in the environmental performance of production processes through lower energy consumption and biodegradability. They are more specific in their action than synthetic chemicals. Processes which use the enzymes therefore have fewer side reactions and waste byproducts, giving higher quality products and reducing the likelihood of pollution. The third advantage is that the enzymes allow some processes to be carried out which would otherwise be impossible. An example is the production of clear apple juice concentrate, which relies on the use of enzyme pectinase. Now let us see some of the uses of these enzymes in food processing. As you can see from the table which is displayed on the slide, there are different kinds of uses in various food preparations. For example, let us first start with the dairy food products. In dairying industry, there are different kinds of enzymes which are used. The first one being rennet. It is nothing but a protease and it acts as a coagulant in cheese production. Then you have lactase, which hydrolyzes the lactose and gives the lactose-free milk products. Then you have protease, which is involved in hydrolysis of whey proteins. Then you have catalases, which are also used in the dairy industry, which are used for removal of hydrogen peroxide. Then going to the next category of enzymes which are used in the brewing industry. Here, different kinds of enzymes like cellulases, beta-glucanases, alpha-amylases, proteases, maltogenic amylases are used, and they are all used for liquefaction, clarification and to supplement the malt enzymes. Then let us move further to the next category of enzymes which are used in alcohol production. In alcohol production, amyloglucosidases are used, which are used for conversion of starch into sugar. Then we have the next set of enzymes which are used in the baking industry. In baking industry, several kinds of enzymes are used. Some of them are alpha amylases, which are used for breaking down the starch in maltose production. Then we have the amyloglycosidases, which are used for saccharification. Then we have the maltogen amylases, which are used for delaying the process whereby the bread becomes stale. Then we have the proteases, which are also used in the baking industry, which are used for breaking down the proteins. Then we have the pentosinase, which are used for breakdown of pentosan, which leads to reduced gluten production. In the baking industry, we also used glucose oxidases to stabilize the dough. Then we have the next category of enzymes, which are used in wine and fruit juice industry. Here we use pectinase, glucose oxidase and beta glucanases. The pectinases increase the yield of juice as well as they are used for juice clarification. Then we have the glucose oxidases and the beta glucanases, which are used for removal of oxygen from the wine and fruit juices. Then we have the next set of enzymes which are used in meat processing. In meat industry, we use proteases, pepine, bromelain and phycine. All these enzymes are used for tenderizing the meat. Then we have the usage or application of enzymes in protein processing. Here proteases, trypsin and aminopeptidases are used for breaking down of various components. Then we have the use or application of enzymes in the starch industry. Here we use different kinds of enzymes like alpha amylase, glucoamylases, hemicellulases, maltogenic amylases, glucose isomerases. All these enzymes are used for modification and conversion, for example, dextrose or high fructose syrups into smaller fractions or dextrinases or beta glucanases. Then we have the last set of application of enzymes as inulin. In inulin synthesis, we use inulinase, and this is used for production of fructose syrups. So after seeing the different kinds of enzymes and their applications in food processing sector, let us now move ahead and learn about the modern production of food enzymes. In the 20th century, enzymes began to be isolated from living cells, which led to large-scale commercial production and wider application of enzymes in the food industry. Today, microorganisms are the most important source of commercial enzyme production. Although microorganisms do not contain the same enzymes as plants or animals, or microorganisms can usually be found that produces a related enzyme that will catalyze the desired reaction. Enzyme manufacturers have optimized microorganisms for the production of enzymes through natural selection and classical breeding techniques. Direct genetic modification through biotechnology encompasses the most precise methods for optimizing microorganisms for the production of enzymes. These methods are used to obtain high-yielding production organisms, and biotechnology also provides the tools to have a genetic sequence from a plant, animal or a microorganism from which commercial scale enzyme production is not adequate to be transferred to a microorganism that has a safe history of enzyme production for food uses and applications. Although the production organism is genetically modified, the enzyme it produces is not. Enzymes produced through biotechnology are identical to those which are found in the nature. And additionally, enzymes produced by the microorganisms are extracted and purified before they are used in food manufacturing and food processing applications. Genetically modified microorganisms are useful from a commercial standpoint but would not survive in the nature. They are exclusively used for food manufacturing and processing applications only. At present, modern biotechnology can be used to give a range of advances in enzyme production technologies. Improved productivity and cost effectiveness is the existing process. By producing enzymes more efficiently, the amount of raw materials, energy and water needed to make a product can be reduced by as much as 1/2 by changing from a traditional strain of microbe to a genetically modified one. Then companies can tailor their enzymes more precisely to customer demand for products with specific purposes and properties. Manufacturers can also supply enzymes which otherwise could not be produced in large enough quantities, giving the consumer access to wider variety of products. An example is the amylase based product which makes the bread stay fresh for a longer period of time. However, after learning the types of enzymes, the types of activities of enzymes, the applications of enzymes in various food industries, and also the advantages and limitations of enzymes, there is one more important thing which has to be learned about the enzymes, is that the possibility of allergies. Sometimes there is a chance of getting allergies by applications and usages of enzymes. To date, there have been no reports of consumer allergies to enzyme residues in the food, but the levels of enzyme residues appearing in the foods are so low that they are highly unlikely ever to cause allergies. Like all proteins, enzymes can cause allergic reactions when people have been sensitized through exposure to large quantities. For this reason, enzyme companies take a variety of protective measures, and some enzymes are produced as liquids, granules, in capsules, or as immobilized preparations to limit the work exposure. So today we have learnt about what are enzymes, the applications of enzymes in the food processing, and the applications of enzymes in various food processing sectors, their kinds of reactions. Apart from this, we also learned about the various models, the lock and key model and other models of enzyme activity, how they act on a food substrate. Apart from that, we also learned about the advantages and disadvantages of enzymes. And to caution everybody, enzymes also could be a reason for allergies because they are nothing but a source of protein. So people who are sensitive to some kinds of proteins might possibly be sensitive to some kinds of enzymes. However, as enzymes are used in very small quantity, allergy could not be a major or a disastrous problem on usage in food applications. For further information on food enzymes, you can refer to textbook on food processing and preservation. You can also refer to textbook on enzymes exclusively. Thank you.